you cannot handle real work, reality talk, 80+ language, simply skip the video.
So very quickly, day 54 or 55, I'm not 100% sure, but at the moment, today, it's the game of life is on a high level plate. I'm already busy since I'm swinging because, and the game of life, I'm already busy since 3:15 again. And the thing is, arranging a lot of stuff for myself and for other people. And let me start with this. You know, now I'm doing a little bit the water thing, place of abundance, and the water is insane. That's why I'm coming also over here. I could also go to the supermarket and drink normal water, but this one fuels me pretty good. So that's what we're gonna do. I think it's day 55. You know, that's also, again, you know, if you think about stuff to do, simply start doing it. Me with my vlogging, you know, I just deep dive into it and try to optimize my speaking, the strategies that I'm going to reveal and share, and everything is for free, and it's pretty much better than most of the courses that you would buy. And I think my tram is over there, so I need to go and see you in the next day. Yeah, this is the one. Like always, I need to de-stress and to calibrate my brain again, because I solved something with the help of other people, and people who are very close to me, and also new people who have the best intentions. They really help out to make everything happen the way I want. And of course, and if you're watching this, I will always return the favor in some sort of way, because the period that I'm in is in the upscaling phase, like I explained yesterday. And there's only one way it has to be done. 7 days a week. Since yesterday and the day before, I will wake up at 3:15, go to bed around 11, no, 12. Yesterday was also 1 o'clock, no, 12:30. I'm always trying to at least, you know, try to get those 3 hours sleep, at least in this period. And of course, that will bite me a little bit later on in the ass, and I will crash probably after 4 or 5 days. But I think that's normal, you know. I think also, you know, I keep on training every day. Not only that, also the amount of food that I actually consume is also very minimal, simply because I keep on going to make everything happen as fast as possible for multiple reasons. But anyway, you know, it's always great to meet also new people with the best intentions. And why would you listen to this? Well, when you start meeting new people, you simply have to filter which one fit your purpose, your goal in life, you know. I never thought like this before, but I'm trying to share this. Let's say you're a younger person, I'm 46, I had to learn the very hard way, because I was always non-stop, always in everybody. But you cannot, you simply cannot, because that's gonna bite you in the ass, and you will clean up other people their problems, you know, especially if you're developing stuff and you just, you know, you don't really filter your people, you're gonna get in trouble. Been there, done that, and I'm still in one, solving a problem that somebody else caused. And yeah, those things are very time consuming. Of course, they challenge me to do better every single day, that's for sure. That in one way, see, I'm never complaining. Also understand this, I try to make things very clear for people who are watching this. You know, you're young, you don't know what to do. Well, one thing is keep your circle clean. I always hammer on this fact, especially if you want to do more in life. See, if you just want to do normal stuff, nothing outside the box, then of course you can keep on hanging around with people who to discuss the latest hyped up miniseries on Netflix. You know, there's nothing wrong about that. But if you are a person, let's say, higher interest but also higher level of energy, which automatically comes with that you're the provider of protection, you're the provider of opportunities, you're the provider of a lot of new contacts. And that's the thing about energy. But in the end, when you start getting with new people, and I you know, every day I talk with people, so when people tell me, you know, that they start trying to meet more and more people, but they say, yeah, but they are this, and because they say, yeah, they're not very nice people. But you know what? You have to go through a boatload of people. Everything is a numbers game, right? It's simply a numbers game. Nothing more, nothing less. And the amount of people that really want to change and grow the percentage is so tiny. But also, think about this, eh? People have periods in their life that they want to change, and you need just to click somehow, somewhat inside those people. But it's not about that you chasing people to gain from. No, that's totally not the case. But to make your position stronger, and especially, you know, when you travel around, and you know, in my case, I'm pretty much alone on this planet. When I would go off this planet, there's nobody, you know, who's gonna sit down and cry for a few hours. I'm gonna crawl in the fucking mountain, and that's it, game over. So that is really my reality. But in case you have family and everything, so it's a little bit different. Anyway, where I'm going with this, I need to clean up my head. I'm gonna do the pull-ups, the abs, like always. I always do abs, you know. Looks good, right? I mean, it's part of the thing that makes you also stronger in a lot of other areas of your life. And your core is very important for a lot of stuff. And I'm gonna do the forward lunges. Legs are important. I do the calves by doing calf raises. Nothing special. And then we move on to over there. I'm doing some of the dips. I'm now over here in Slavia Park, which I come for so many years. 16 years ago was the first time. Let's see, because over there's another dips place, but I'm gonna do dips maybe on that thing over there. Not sure yet. Let's start with the simple stuff. And today I'm just going until I'm exhausted, and because I need to unload, because the build up to today was pretty stressful, and you know, try to sync all the people in line with different countries. You know, we're also dealing with time zones and stuff. Anyway, when you get into meeting new people, let's make a little bit of conclusion on each clip. I understood that also when I watch my own stuff. Sometimes I'm rattling, and that's another thing, right? I'm very transparent about my vlogging journey. I need to optimize my speaking. I want to optimize the content somehow, somewhat, but I will more focus on the speaking instead of sitting in exotic environments and show you cars and I don't know what. You know, they're in the end irrelevant. It's nice, but it's irrelevant. I do believe there's bigger value in guiding some people through life by mentioning experiences, pitfalls, a lot of pitfalls, the red flags about people that you should not go hanging around with or get rid of, or even, now let's say, lower maybe the contact, the amount of time that you spend with those people. I start rattling again. I need to clean my head. because now it's 12 o'clock, I think. It's 12 o'clock, so I'm already busy for 9 hours. Ding, ding, ding. Then train, eat a little bit, didn't eat anything. Drank a lot of mineral water, so that is always good. Gonna take extra vitamin C. I always take extra vitamin C. Once I read a book about vitamin C, and those are very basic vitamins that provide your body with a lot of stuff. And to emphasize again on this part, I'm not doing the proteins, I'm not doing the creatines, I'm not following strict every 3 hours eating diet or eating regime. I do eat pretty clean, but I also drink beer. You know, I just want to live a life. And for everybody has their own little vices, right? Let's call it a vice. And beer is for me my vice. And and I just pick it up with this. If I only would drink beer and work, I don't believe that that I would be in this state of physique at 46. And it's not to brag, I just want to give you guys a little bit, well, let's say an example. I don't know. And if you're watching this, you're 25 or 35 and you think, yeah, no, Dalan, I have a boatload of excuses that you mentioned before, and I do have a lot of those people around me. You know, maybe you start thinking, and it's never too late to change. I lost a couple of times everything in my life. The last time was when I was 41, you know. Yeah, those times were great as an experience. You know, afterwards it's always nice. But at the moment, I had moments, for example, that I slept on a bench somewhere outside. You know, the nights are all of a sudden very, very long, huh? Very long. And sometimes I had to train for 6 hours in the middle of the night because it was windy and to stay warm. But and then it's all mental. It's all mental because I was also starving. Still train to stay warm in the wind. And in the meantime, I thought, yeah, this will pass. You know, this will pass. And I can do two things: sit in a corner and just get cold and cry a little bit, or train. So, and the calisthenics is for me really, really, really something. I see it something, yeah, to survive. That's why I really, really love the calisthenics, the steel, you know. Anyway, by the way, I did not upload yet a very simple cycle of the dips, knee raises, pull-ups, knee raises, and always the abs. And the thing is, those are three basic things. If you do those every day, you're pretty good. You're already doing more than the majority of people, because the reason that I'm doing it like this is to keep my physique in balance. You know, I'm 174. It would look ridiculous on me if I would have, you know, huge shoulders. It would make me look very tiny, you know, like a dwarf. Okay, some bodybuilders like that, and there are a few short, famous bodybuilders, but yeah, those people are bodybuilders. I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm pretty much a guy who wants to keep his brain as fast as possible and his body that he can run like a deer in the field, or like a rabbit just in the meadow, or anything that wants to run, a bull, you know. Anyway, I don't know. Let's train, clean ahead. Here on the parallel bars, if you like Slavia Park, just Google Maps it, or follow me on Google Maps, and you can see all the calisthenic spots, including this one. This one actually, 16 years ago, I came for the first time over here, and feels like home. And like always, the calisthenic spot, yeah, you know, for me it has a place of comfort, discomfort and comfort at the same time. And when I feel overloaded, like the previous, no, did I say it in the previous clip? Yes, I think so. You know, I felt really mentally overloaded, somehow, somewhat, a little bit anxious. I'm walking through the bushes because there's people over there. You know, and now I did a little bit more than I was I was planning, but you know what? Every time when I still feel a little bit there's something, you know, it needs to be mentally cleaned up, extra. And that is the thing about having some sort of baseline in place, the dips and knee raises, the pull-ups and the knee raises, and always the normal knee raises to the elbow on the parallel bars. But you know, then I did some extra forward lunges, the calves. What else did I do? A lot of cross knee to elbows on the parallel bar also, and wide grip knee raises. And probably some of you guys might think, yeah, what is the difference? Well, when you do wide grip knee raises, it really feels on your shoulders as well. And it's also like, and at least that's my personal experience, it feels also that for the knee raises it's a little bit harder. And you know what, when things are a little bit harder, you get mentally and physically more ripped, and that's what we want. Build resilience mentally and physically. I think you can build resilience. I don't know, I'm not any professional in fitness and or mental things. I'm just an observer of life and try to learn every single day from all the experiences and try to optimize my own speaking every single day, look at my own behavior, always re-evaluate conversations that I had with people, what could have been done better to steer it in, you know, in some sort of direction when it's always valuable for the other person. I always think like this. My meetings with other people, there should always that I leave with a better feeling that they when they came. And you know, not every time I meet my own requirements, and then I think, what could I have done better? Maybe a little bit higher energy, maybe a little bit lower energy, maybe read a little bit more the finger gestures, a little bit maybe with new people, you know, when they pretend to laugh. You know, there's so many different ways also laughing, you know, pretending, or forced, or a little bit nervous, and or, you know, and when somebody's nervous, I always, you know, take a little bit more physical distance, open my palms and that kind of stuff, you know, to make people really feel at ease, you know. Nobody has to pretend around me, and I also never pretend for somebody else. Never. As you probably also can hear and see, probably more here, the way I talk, you know, you cannot fake it. I said also this before, when people consider to start working with me, they know exactly what they get. They get an obsessed person, and not an only obsessed person, but also very experienced when it's about failing fast, but not only failing. I've succeeded pretty much also many times. Now I'm again, and like I said, when I was 41 I lost pretty much everything, and I'm at this point that everything is stable, and stable enough to automate the creation and distribution of content, and like this maintenance, and then list building, capturing and nurturing those leads, and then convert them in sales. And now I got so many audiences, you know, it's simply focused on the sales, not anymore a lot of testing. I still do testing, but not so much. Now it's for upscale and see where it goes wrong in the process, and then simply take care of those errors, and then upscale more and more. And when this is flawless running and I'm using all the tools that are so solid, I tested them through and through, you know, those are so solid, and then I really also want to share it with the public for free. And when people really start making some sort of amounts of money, then maybe they knock on my door and say, hey, can we do this, can we do this? And you know, I don't have to work for a boss anymore. That's what I want for other people. Everything can be done from the phone, not something else. I want to share my list of tools that I'm using, so you only need to duplicate. That's it, and then you make money. You make it sound very easy, darling. It's like it doesn't cost any effort. Yes, every change costs effort, not only mentally, physically, but also along the way you have to get used to running into errors. You have to solve them by yourself. For example, if you now work in the 9 to 5 things, or you operate in a comfort zone that you not get challenged every single day, you know, you have to get used to this as well. You know, you have to build resilience. You know, you have to survive you by yourself. Nobody else gives a shit. Now your boss, he says, go to work. And if you don't do what I say, then you get fired and I'll replace you in a finger snap. Bam. And actually, I think last week I talked with somebody, he has a normal job, or actually it's a C. She says, yeah, but I also like my colleagues. Yeah, now that is all nice. You can always keep in contact with those people. The thing is, there's a difference between liking for just getting used to them, or people who really go all the way for you. And of course, that depends on your own attitude towards life. What do you want? What do you need? What do you feel comfortable with? You know, that is all your own decision. Like I mentioned in 3 days ago video, freedom is for everybody something else. And the way I live, you can see it. I walk over here. I don't have to be over here. I just did my training, clean up my head, necessary, disciplined, and now I'm going to get some mineral water, and then I'm gonna meet some people. Let's see how that goes. But at least there is the past 72 hours was high pressure, high pressure, high pressure. And maybe tonight I'm going to sleep a little bit. You know, the last 72 hours, maybe 3-4 hours a night. Last night was definitely 3 hours, probably even less. But you know, you can do a siesta. I would wiggle in my bed like a fish on dry land. You know, it would go totally nuts because my brain is now, after the training, it's empty, and the floodgates of thoughts and things are flowing like insanity. It's also something that you should want, you know, that your brain works optimal, right? Maybe, you know, sometimes a little bit foggy, you know, and that there's a lot of possibilities or possible factors that can influence your fog, you know, sugars, the things that you consume simply. But also what I really like about training, and this is what I think, and if you're a doctor or whatever and you think, no, that's totally wrong, then drop a comment. But the thing what I imagine when I train, you know, the blood goes in a very tiny veins and all in the squeezed into your toes, your, I don't know what, everywhere, and all the organs, the blood pumping by your heart rate gets up, you need to breathe, gasp for air. You know, it's good. You know, those you got one body. You know, you got one body, you need to optimize it. And we're not all born, you know, like I don't know what, like superstar sportsmen. No, you know, I'm also not, far from that. The thing is, I drink beer, once in a while a cigarette, but my main goal is mentally, that I keep my brain really healthy and also very curious all the time. I'm also always very curious, and that is simply my personal thing. And I like to feel good in my body as well, because once, maybe last week, I skipped 1 day of training. The next day I feel anxious, or maybe more disappointed in myself. You know, you took a day off, you're never gonna get the day back. And I mentioned this once about Jim Rohn. He said, if you don't make the time now to exercise, time will push you down in the bed or something. You just Google it, push you down in the bed, and you will have enough time to think about it. So what actually he means, when you're sick, you know, that you get all kind of skin diseases and blah blah blah, and all kind of things because you don't sweat enough, you don't, you know, push the blood into areas in the very tiny veins, you know, to bring that oxygen over there, to keep those cells happy, you know, breathe. Everything is energy, right? Maybe you don't drink enough water, but anyway, let's make a move, because I want to drink mineral water. I really constantly going to mineral water places, you know. I'm like those animals in the Sahara. You know, I'm going to this pool where all the lions are waiting. But over here you don't have lions, but you know, all the people are actually going over there. Not all the people but a lot of people do, and it's healthy water. Why not? And it's when I go to, for example, this morning I went to the one in the center. You know, I really see it as a place of abundance. You know, the water is just non-stop running, non-stop running. I think I also mentioned this once before in the video. If you feel a little bit depressed or something, you know, a little bit, you know, down, start with the question, what if? Now, how does that work? What if I don't have a roof above my head this evening? What if this week there won't be money for food? What if you got still parents and stuff, you know, what if they're not over here anymore? What if you cannot use the internet anymore? What if, you know, and then you start really appreciating the stuff that you do have, and that should make you feel real in a place of gratitude. You know, sometimes, see, I also have really my moments that I think, no, darling, you messed up again, and then take a moment, breathe, not like those, you know, I'm not preaching any kind of things like meditation on top of the hill and praying for that $10,000 check. No, I'm talking about calm yourself down and get in this positive vibration, you know, that you feel good inside. Because, for example, when I feel anxious or a little bit stressed out, and then I would go between people, I can see it. The amount of responses or conversation that I get in are simply less. You know, it's true. You just get what you give. Let me think about this. You get what you give. So you vibrate, you know, positivity. So you give positivity to the world. Yeah. So that is a little bit in contradiction, because yesterday I said, because people say the way you feel inside reflects on your outside. Yes and no. Because they missed one point, right? And when children get abused and that kind of stuff, those children never felt like this inside. I don't believe that. You know, I spent maybe 2 weeks also in a place. We had to fight in the night because people came to me to push bananas in my fucking face. Yeah, and then one of the guards, you know, took me in the elevator. But a fucking adult, you know, tells me you have to stop being colored. Well, anyway, I'm not gonna get in that story again, but the thing is, I don't know where I go with this actually. Yeah, that everything what you feel inside is not gonna be always on the outside. Those are very, very, how do you say this? Very superficial, I don't know. But very, very plain statements by people who probably didn't went through a lot of bullshit. Because there's always details, you know. There are always details to add, and only those details can be added by people who had a little bit more colorful life. Anyway, listen to the people around you. Ask them about some sort of details, you know, because I know from along young people, and not only young people, some people also like to make up things to make their life a little bit more interesting. And you can see it, you can hear it, especially you can hear it. I can hear it on people, their tonality, how they speak about stuff. And I always ask them, are you sure about this? And that is my response, not to push them down on the ground, more to push them down on the earth. You know, not to push them down, but that they, hey, stand with you both of you, we all stand with both of our feet on the earth, right? And that's it. There's nothing more or less. I'm not more, I'm not less. Although some people do think that I'm way less because of my color, and but that's not the thing, you know. People need to live in reality, and the closer you get to reality, the more beautiful your life becomes. It is just simply black and white, right? If you live somewhere in between, so you make up all kind of stories for yourself to make your life interesting or whatever, you also gonna lead a life that is really in the at least that's what I believe. You really live in the gray area, and maybe in the maybe area you all kind of meet all kind of people that are also operating in the maybe area, and probably also a lot of negativity. You don't want to be in that spot. Just look in the mirror and say, this is me. This is me. Not the other person that I made up. This is you. This is your life. Nobody else gives a shit. You go out in the wild, expose yourself to emotions. Don't get into this idiotic, stoic things that people talk about. No, like I said, I'm gonna say it again because I'm gonna hammer on this. Because all those trends, people who spread the word of being stoic, I say live life with emotion. You know, not emotionless. Especially if you haven't been through a lot of stuff, especially when you never have left the country alone or whatever. A lot of colorful stuff can happen and you never experienced any of that. You can never claim that you're stoic, so don't even think about it. Just live life with emotion, you know. Give yourself to the moment, in the moment. Don't play with your phone, you know, when you sit with people that you really care about. Don't play with your phone. If you play with your phone around people that you care about, you don't care enough. Simple. People who my bonds, you know, I explained this before, you know, I don't have friends, I got bonds, and people who are really close to become bonds. You know, bonds are the people who running the extra 50,000 or 100,000 kilometers to make things happen together, you know. So think about that. Who are the people also who you meet with? You know, they're playing with their fucking phones. Also, when you see people alone, you know, I think that's always even more interesting to watch. People who are alone, out of the herd, you know, see how they behave. You know, if you start feeling sorry for themselves because they get confronted with their thoughts. That's another thing. I think that's a beautiful thing. I would love to see some people really alone. I'm not talking about one day. I talk about, let's say, 30 days. Let's see what they do. Observe them. And you only get better from it. I spent so many months alone. Really alone. And yeah, but you know, I like to dig deep in my brain. Sometimes I also lock myself up for 4 or 5 days. You know, just meet myself. Because I had to figure out a lot of stuff. You know, the way I'm speaking now, the way I'm acting now is all coming from a place of peace that I have found with, let's say, my past and a lot of other things. Anyway, stop rattling, Dalla, because we go to the water place and I need to pee. Yeah, because I drink a lot of water. And some people think, well, you pee a lot. Yeah, no, you are totally right. And once I was sitting next to a guy talking, he was 81, he said, yeah, you pee a lot. The thing is, do you know how much water I drink? And at that moment, I think I was 4 liters of beer in, so yeah, you know, then you pee. You know, it's not only gonna, it's evaporate through your pores. I don't know how to say it in English. In Holland we say poriën. Those little holes in your skin. You don't sweat all the liquor out. Okay, shut up and go to the water place. I thought about a word to replace for stoic. I think it should be something like emotion awareness. You know, you still full in the moment. Emotion with your emotion, your body's gestures and I don't know what, and you're very aware of it so you can evaluate afterwards. Anyway, it's also beautiful weather. Oh, mamma mia. I hope it lasts now a little bit longer. Not that we're tomorrow again in the freaking snow. It's done with the snow, I hope. Because everything is so much better when there's sun. And I was built in Indonesia, as you probably can see. I was raised in Holland, and no matter where I was manufactured, the thing is, my body does like the sun. Oh yeah, and I got way much more energy when there's sun. Okay, anyway, we're gonna cross. There's a lot of people. Ciao for now. Oh, it's time to relax. But you know, I had a little talk, and actually with 2 people at once, and I went through the day a little bit back and forward. New people, by the way. And then they asked me a question. I also asked a lot of questions, but in the end they asked me, you know, they say, you know, how is it possible, the level of energy and constantly talking about stuff. But anyway, besides that, I'm gonna tell you something about this. my mind is in control over my body. So, for example, and I'm gonna give you an example about this. When I'm hungry, the only way that I'm noticing that I'm hungry is that I start to feel a little bit anxious. That's an indicator for me that I'm getting hungry. The feeling in my stomach that it's an empty stomach and then I react on it, that is for me not relevant, because you can go way much longer than you think. And let me tell you this, I used to eat like a wild baboon. Every time when I felt a little bit hungry, I needed to eat. If I didn't eat, I was grumpy. I was just addicted. I was also never tired, by the way, just to let you know. But the thing is, now my mind is in control. And the thing is, when I'm feeling a little bit anxious, I'm always, sometimes I forget where it's coming from, simply because I don't spend enough time to eat. That's another thing. And what was the other thing? I wanted to say this. I said something else, but I don't remember which one it is. Oh yeah, when it's about sleepy. And people ask me about my sleeping pattern, you know. It's very irregular. But that's again a mental thing. Because I don't go to sleep when I feel tired. I go to sleep when I simply pass out. It's true. And the thing is, now at the past 72 hours, maybe 3 hours a night sleep, maybe. And the thing is, I know it will hit me at one point, then I get, then I sleep, let's say, a full 8 hours, and then I'm also running around like a wild rabbit in the meadow, running away from, I don't know what, lions. Anyway, so, and I'm getting to a point with this, and look in the mirror, and when you're tired and you sit down on the couch for hours, is that really, are you really tired? And you're walking to the fridge again, you do it out of boredom. Most people eat out of boredom. And if you're really honest to yourself, why do you eat? And some people who say that they have discipline regarding food, you can see it, right? You're not a blind man. People who are, let's say, pretend that they're in shape and do the whey proteins and everything, and you can see they look like, hey, if you wouldn't see them naked or what, you cannot, you would think at first sight that they're chubby. They eat too much. Anyway, there's nothing against people who like to bulk up and all that kind of stuff, but we need to polarize a little bit the audiences, the people who want to go all over the top. People like me, and I want to share what is going all over the top, because I mentioned this before, when it's about delusional behavior, you're not in contact with reality, and when you're not in contact with reality, your life is pretty mediocre. But your goals should be out of proportion and delusional, because mine are. And many people told me before, pretty much every time when I did something new, and in general, most of the times it did work out, and a lot of times also did not work out, but those projects in general I kept for myself, but failed pretty public with some. So anyway, get in touch with reality, control your own body, you're in control. And if people feel that you're in control, people show fucking respect. It's true. It's better to get your mind in order, that you're really in control of your mind. No, that your mind is in control of your body, instead of your body is in control over your mind. So when your body is hungry, you need to feed it, so your brain has to go to work, go to the fucking fridge, and all those extra useless tasks. Or your body says, now I'm tired, and sleep for another 8 hours. I also don't believe that you need an 8-hour thing. And I know people who sleep for fucking 8 hours. They actually farming all kind of extra body fat. You don't need so much food, you don't need so much. If you really would know what I'm eating on one day, you would think, how is that possible? Is this guy living from air? And even me, sometimes I think, where is that coming from, Anyway, by the way, I'm not fasting on purpose. I'm simply not focused on and people also very strict. Now I'm gonna fast for 16 hours and this, blah blah blah. That is all fun, but again, you try to put yourself in a comfort zone, right? A comfort zone where you put your body in some sort of comfortable behavior and you follow it. But this is the thing. It's similar to the fact and when people constantly eat every 2 hours to grow in a specific way, great body shape, of course, when they prepare for a competition, yeah, it's probably necessary. But the thing is, we live real life, right? Nothing will be ever comfortable and straight from A to Z, unless, you know, you got a 9 to 5 and, you know, you're anyway already so bored. You already figured out a lot of vices. You know, you're figuring out vices just to entertain yourself. That's true. If you really look honest in the mirror, you know. If you cannot admit to yourself that you live a life of comfort, look at your vices. What are you wasting time on? Watching television? Why would you need to watch other people their adventures, or you need to watch the miserable things that happen in the world? If you stop watching television like me and you turn on the television after 10 years, it's all the same. You know, it's war, it's politics, and now people complaining, crying here and there, probably another war. Yeah, great. And in the meantime, some depressed idiots, commercials, and that's how you get brainwashed. Anyway, I'm going for a beer because I want to. It's my daily beer. Anyway, ciao for now. You know, I want to end this vlog with a little bit support. Actually, all my vlogs are based upon to do good as possible. But let's say it like this. You know, I'm drinking a beer and I'm eating sunflower seeds. And let me tell you this. One of the main important things that helped me survive, actually gave me a boost when I lost everything. And nobody else is gonna tell you this, people. When you're hungry, you're hungry. And nobody else is gonna tell you this. You know what's very important? Salt. Salt is so important, and if you got nothing left in your body anymore, you know, you cannot continue, you don't see the world anymore. Everybody's against you. Been there, done that, mentally. But it was only for a few minutes, or maybe sometimes 1 or 2 hours, just fighting the things. But I discovered salt, and especially, you know, and a lot of people maybe who watch this, you would say, yeah, it's totally not relevant for me. I'm not listening to a guy who's drinking beer in Sofia and whatever. Good for you. But for the people who actually do something in their life and they take big gambles, you go outside the country and you lose everything, sometimes your freedom, you know what? You run into situations, and one of those things, you need always water. And I actually regained a lot of strength by taking Himalayan salt. 100%. And I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart because I know, you know, I always had a feeling for people who lost everything. I always had. You know, when I had a home in Holland, people could come at my place to drink whatever they want for free. The homeless people. Not only that, I can go a little bit deeper, but the thing is, we don't. But, you know, I lost multiple times all the comfort that is possible. And if you're in that position now and you're watching my idiotic videos and you listen constantly to all the stuff, you know, when you want to survive, and when you go to that point that you have to survive, right, that you cannot do another step, but you have to do another step. A lot of people wouldn't understand what I mean with saying over here, right? But I've been there, and I for I think last week, no, maybe 2 weeks ago, I said something. I got over 800 videos from a time that also I recorded a video. I could not walk anymore. I really could not walk anymore, but I had to. What else? At one point, you have to keep on walking. You have to keep on thinking how to survive. And for the people who want to survive now, salt is very important. Salt, if somebody would have told me, I was really, really very starving at one point, huh? And also people around me, at least from other countries, and they saw me on the videos, I lost a lot of weight. But this is the thing, you have to figure things out. But you only figure things out when you're on the earth of sometimes, you think, yeah, this is it. Sometimes I thought this is it. So that's that was not only, many times I had those, this is it. And for the people who are watching, and you're in a position, yeah, this is it. You're so starving and you still want to do the things. You need to gather energy. You need to go to that meeting because that might give you a little bit extra money, cash flow or whatever. And everything, and probably the percentage of people that have been in the same position as me, and not that I'm some unicorn or whatever. The thing is, I want to share this. If you're in a difficult position, you're starving sometimes, you cannot eat. You cannot eat this evening. Maybe you can eat something after 2-3 days. Been there, done that. And the thing is, salt is so important. Yeah, and I figured this out by myself. And a lot of I ate at one point for 3-4 months. I ate oatmeal for 3-4 months, morning, daytime, evening. Yeah, you get sick of it. But there are things that are already for decades, centuries on this planet. There is power in it. And if you feel, that little spark of that there's hope, or also that you have this little spark of energy, then use it. I'm very serious about what I'm saying over here. It's not to talk about sentimental bullshit. I want to help a lot of people, and also not the classic ones, you go to the 9 to 5, yeah, also, but I'm also talking to the people who are losing everything, losing everything. You're afraid to end up in the street tomorrow. I know those people exist. I've been there, done that. And tomorrow you're gonna sleep on the street. And then, if you're in that position, you can always text me. Because if you have to sleep on the street or whatever, on the bench, I figured out many ways just to hide from the rain, to stay warm. I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart because there are so many people. When I also watch, sometimes those videos that people, they turn to, extreme drugs. I'm not gonna mention locations or whatever, but I'm thinking about them because they don't. Nobody goes over there. Yeah, you can give them a little bit money and say, hey, I give this guy €500 or whatever, $500, and now I have more views, an extra 100,000 views. The thing that I'm saying over here is from experience, but also. Life is very precious. I do believe that. I also believe in the fact the people who do those giveaways for a short amount of time, ask about the situation and blah blah blah. In the end, it's just a short term of a big amount of money, also from the earnings that they have. and then I give it away to the thing. But everything is so short term. I do believe that my content is gonna help a lot of people. I don't have the audience on YouTube yet or whatever, but the things that I'm saying is from experience. So if you're starving out there, go to the liquor store, buy a beer, but also go to the grocery store to, you know, when it's about me drinking beer, and I'm gonna be very honest about it, sometimes it relieves me from the headache or the stress. That's for everybody the same, but you know, when you don't have money for food, and it's not that you invest all the money for food, yeah, it sounds like an alcoholic, no. And probably people can see that I'm not an alcoholic, and maybe you think that I'm an alcoholic. That's good for you, you're anyway doing whatever you need to do. But for the people who've been there, done that, and you're on the urge to lose everything, I do believe at the moment there are a lot of people who are on the urge of losing a lot of stuff, and maybe they get so depressed and they turn to alcohol, but then the hard liquor and maybe some extra stuff that you shouldn't use, you know, I would recommend start drinking a lot of water. And when you drink a lot of water, you need to keep somewhat your body that keeps water, because if you only drink water, you pee a lot, but you also pee out a lot of minerals that your body needs. Yeah. So that's the end of this video, but you know, if you're in this kind of position that you the urge losing, or you watching me, that you're sitting on the street, you know, I've been in a situation that I was looking around, you know, where can I sit for the night, you know, where I'm not in danger, you know, where you're not in danger, because that's also something you don't want to get in fights with. You know, I've been in situations that I was sleeping on a bench. I tied my suitcase on my lace, you know, on my lace. I tied my suitcase on a lace, so if I would fall asleep for 15 minutes or whatever and somebody would run away with my suitcase, not that it was a lot of valuable, but it's the last thing that I had, you know. You know, you want to be, you never sleep comfortable. You never sleep comfortable. And then I was waiting at one point, I'm gonna say it, you know, at one point things were very bad, turned very bad, and I was sleeping and also training, sleeping 5 minutes, and then waiting for the sun coming up so I could take a little bit, you know, clean myself. I always want to look a little bit representable. Yeah. You know, and then I talk to myself, come on, Don, you can do it. No matter how tired, you're just gonna do it. You just have to do it, because in the end, yeah, if you don't have people, you know, that would say, hey, Don, or in your case, that don't talk about me all the time, fuck off. The thing is, you know, sometimes it was very scary. I had times, and I recorded those videos. That I got over 800 videos on one YouTube channel, and sometimes I'm watching them. And the thing is, and it's not to talk sad. It's just sharing my experience. And sometimes, when you're in a bad position, you need to hear from other people who've been there, done that. You know, it's not that somebody comes to you, I'm gonna give you 500 euros, you go for 2-3 days in an Airbnb, and then you're again on the street. You understand? That's what I want to make clear. People who just never experience anything, give you money, and that's it. But you can always, the money will finish. They don't give you this mental thing. Yeah, they give you a little bit of burst, this instant gratification thing, but that's the danger thing. You know, when you spend if you ever spend time on the street, you know, for a couple of nights or whatever, you understand how long nights can be. You know, so for example, when you're on the bed and there is a mosquito, because last night there was a mosquito, and I think, you know what, this mosquito, he can suck whatever he wants. No, not in a weird way, you know, because I know. Because at one point, things, you know, when I stayed somewhere, so fucking hot over there. And then I was waiting to get in the water in the morning. Yeah, to clean myself, look a little bit representable. Yeah, but I want to share this thing. So if you're very hungry and you're starving already for a few days, Himalayan salt, you don't even have money for bread, how do you get to this point? Well, sometimes life gives you challenges, and then finish this clip. Life gives you challenges, especially if you're a guy who asks or goes for the higher stuff. And yes, we got the Amazon guy. He probably never had, but those people also go through hell. I want something for the people. And if you want something for the people and provide somehow the knowledge and give the knowledge away for free, you have to pay the bill. And I always believe that. I actually watched one of my videos that I actually said. I was crying on that video. And not because I felt so sad for myself, because I was in physical pain. Yeah, beautiful, right? And I actually said on that video, I watched it yesterday, and I said, it's for a better purpose. Whether you believe it or not, I will share everything along the way. But if you're in a very shitty position, you're very starving at the moment, go for the salt, take a beer. Salt is so important, and nobody else is going to tell you those little tiny details. Other people would say, buy a bread. You know what, when it's about bread, you eat a whole bread, which I once also did. I was so very, very, very hungry, and I ate a whole bread. After that I was still hungry. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Salt does the job. And then you go to a little sleep in the bushes or whatever, and you recover. Your body does something with the salt. I cannot explain it. Some other people will say, yeah, Dallin, that is totally immoral, or, you know, I'm a doctor, I know better. Of course, but you've never been on the street. Probably. And that's what I want to share. I want to share my experiences. I want to share the ups, the ups and the downs. You know, I've been down many times, mentally, physically, environmentally, and I want to share those things. And also, maybe if you were in a bad position, that you say, yeah, no, let me try this at least, you know, because I'm losing my mind, I'm losing this and this. And that's also another thing. When you're on the street, first of all, you have to look for a little bit for your own safety, right? You don't want to get stabbed, beat up by drunk people. I always stayed away from environments that people go out, you know. But also, you know, you don't want to get away too much from civilization. You don't want, I never slept in the forest or something, because yeah, maybe that's my own mental thing. I never want to do that, because I'm always paranoid about bears and I don't know what. And not only bears, snakes, cockroaches, and I'm not into insects and all that kind of stuff. You know, when I want to sleep, I don't want to get bitten, or yeah, I don't like that. So yeah. So let's stop the vlog for today. But people, if you're one of those people who are in a very, very bad situations, try to focus on the water And when you focus on water, you pee a lot, yes, but then also eat a lot of salt. And sometimes, and I'm gonna share this also on top of it, mayonnaise. Mayonnaise. Good mayonnaise, just suck the whole tube empty. Kept me kept my skin a little bit glossy. And I'm just sharing things that nobody else is gonna share, so that's why I'm sharing. So, mayonnaise, and if you can, and if you have access to bread with mayonnaise, I did it at one point also, but yeah. Anyway, that's it. And this is very extreme. Not a lot of people get in that situation because they have family, they never left the country. I understand. But my heart goes out to the people who don't have backups. They don't. Their backs are against the wall, and not in a way that you can go, okay, my back is against the wall, and then I step into my shitty car. No, if you still have a car, you're still good to go. You got nothing to complain about. Or, you know. But this is my word is for the people who lost fucking everything, or on the earth to lose everything. You know, and then you're gonna meet yourself. And then when you meet yourself, and when you're starving, you start eating yourself. But I also do believe in this. People who actually start eating their own body, you know, because that's what's gonna happen. I also do believe it replaces all the old cells. So I always thought this is positive. But you need salt. I figured that out along the way. Nobody else is gonna tell you this on YouTube. I'm telling you. Nobody. Not the people who are in the anti-aging thing or whatever. With all the respect, I watch those videos. Great content. But there are so many people that are suffering. There are so many people that don't get the guidance. And I'm not saying that I'm some kind of guy who knows everything, no, but I'm sharing my things that I did to survive, mentally, physically, and that's it. And stop rattling, Della. I know. Ciao for now. And by the way, my Airbnb is over there. I think it's over there. You know, that's luxury, people. I got a roof. You know, and over here is the circus. You know, there's entertainment. I talked to great people today. I feel blessed. I'm grateful for everybody who I could meet today, and actually who were willing to talk with me. You know, I'm very grateful. I'm fucking 46. You know, I really love everything, and I'm in Bulgaria. The temperature is good. You know, it's beautiful. And you know, and I feel very tiny over here at the moment because you know this is big. The building is big. Look at this. And I actually don't know which apartment is mine. I'm staying in an Airbnb, but also the owner of the place, beautiful soul. You know, sometimes you never know where his help is coming from. You never know what gives you this spark of you know, that ignites you to do good again. You know, you can sometimes think that the world is against you, right? Been there, done that. Trust me, been there, done that. But you know, when this spark comes that ignites you again, and take full advantage of it, and yeah, beautiful.